Woo!
Okay. So I'll call this meeting to order at 15:33. And first thing on the agenda is open forum. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about that's not on the agenda?
We started doing all the testing for that Cal grant.
Yep.
And we have Melissa has been really good in working with the students, and we have all the first grade is done and part of one of the kindergarten classrooms. So we're moving forward with all of that.
Yeah, that's great.
On top of it, Melissa and I are doing the class at Tufts. And every week they try to introduce something new to us that we have to play with. And it's a little bit, it's time consuming and everything, but we found some other really good apps. I know she pushed one to you this week, Jeremy, that was actually very powerful when I played with it, that I felt like kids could use for retelling stories and doing things in a different way. And to create, one of the biggest things they want to do is create playgrounds, not play pens, where kids are confined a lot. I mean, I know we have to confine them to a degree, but where they feel that they have some freedom to play and learn at the same time. So that's just an update on that piece.
That's awesome. Thanks.
I have a small list. I don't know if you want me to talk about it later, of concerns and needs that people from our building gave me.
All right, let's
I'm going to do the agenda first and do that.
What we'll do is we'll table open forum so we can bring it back later on in the meeting.
Perfect.
Unless anybody else has anything they want to mention. I don't want to get bogged down with a list of things we need to do before we get through the business. And I might address some of it as we go through the list. All right. Next thing is consent agenda. Approve the minutes. I don't have any minutes written because I haven't had time to do them. If anybody wants to make minutes from YouTube videos, let me know. New business budget. We're building our new budget. It might be an interesting year. We're preparing to get questions about how we spend money this year that maybe we didn't get before, but we'll see how it goes. I'll be talking to the principals about their priorities for technology and if there's anything in particular they want to focus on this year, but and the department heads. Is there anything anybody else wants to talk about under the budget? Okay.
All set.
Joe, could you talk to us about network security and technology projects we have going on?
Hold on. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
At this point, security, we're looking into firewalls, various open source firewalls that we're going to implement to make sure our server farm is isolated from the rest of the network. We pushed out antivirus at this point to just about every device in the district. So there, Sophos looks for ransomware, viruses, any type of Trojan. So that's been implemented over the last 2 weeks. Am I missing anything else? The antivirus, the firewalls we're looking into.
No, I think that's all we have going right now.
I think the big thing was getting the antivirus pushed out to every device in the district.
Yeah, and as we deploy the new teacher devices, they'll all have that too. So
yes, that's on all the new Mac Chromebooks that are going out to teachers. I mean the MacBooks,
right?
Not Mac Chromebooks.
Does anybody have any concerns or questions about network security or technology projects? Oh, I have an update on technology projects. We do have a whole bunch of Promethean boards that we ordered over the summer that are still not here yet. I know Lots of people are anxiously awaiting the arrival, but I'm not hiding them in the closet. We just don't have them yet. When they do come in, we'll install them. Anybody else?
Great, thank you. Yes, I got one quick thing, Jeremy.
Sure.
The landing page for the website is, I'm on a meeting here, sorry. Comes back as not secure and you have to go to advanced to get to it about half the time.
Is that the portal?
Yeah,
Yeah. Let me, Joe, we need to take a look at that. The certificate for portal.ewgrsd.org
thank you very much.
is bad.
Is it bad or has it just expired? I'll take a look.
I think it's the way I have it redirected. We'll just have to take a look at, just put it on the list of
Okay.
things we need to look at. All right, that takes care of new business. Under old business, classroom technology. How are things going with classroom technology? Are the iPads working better, or these new Chromebooks working better? No?
No, the iPads, I know Joe's probably sick of my messages. They delete things all the time on us. You know, I know that you're working on it, but they've been deleting things. They've been like, I'm in the middle of actually using it and then the app is gone. Like to the point where like I had a kid in tears last week when they were using one of them and it was just gone. And then I can't get into the portal, the file stream. It's still giving me 404 errors on all of my iPads. So I'm kind of stagnant with that. The computers, honestly, I'm working on rolling those out to the kids next week. It's different with all the COVID stuff and they just weren't ready until now because they weren't responsible enough to handle things, but they will be starting to use the Chromebooks. And so far those seem to be functioning the same as always. So I'm not as concerned about those.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect those to have changed very much. Any other questions or concerns or comments about classroom technology?
My kids love using the Promethean board though. So that's a plus. You want a plus there? There you go.
I like those pluses.
Yeah, and for a plus for us, with our new curriculum that we're rolling out, having the TVs in the rooms for us this year, we're probably using them more because we have the links to different, things that go along with the new curriculum as far as either read alouds or songs and that kind of stuff that are incorporated as part of Boston Public. So they're definitely a plus to have those in the room. So there's another plus for you.
Keep them coming.
That's good to hear. Student and teacher devices. So as far as student devices, the FCC had a big COVID grant for devices to meet the need of students for out of school learning. And they were paying up to $400 a device, and our school district qualified for 260 devices. So I went ahead and requested that money, and we have 260 high-end Chromebooks on the way. And the plan is to distribute those to the 9th and 10th graders, and then take back the devices from the 9th and 10th graders and use those to flesh out the elementary schools on carts. These perform a lot better than the ones that we got last year. And they have to be in the hands of students who are taking them home by June of this year, which is why I said, hey, we'll use these with the 9th and 10th graders. So that's the plan there. As far as teacher devices goes, we have those in. They've been rolling out slowly. I think Joe and Max have the process down where they're moving right along on it now, whereas before they were having to install everything manually, but Joe was able to streamline a lot of it. So I know, Joe, what was your plan for a schedule on, were you going to put out a calendar or something?
Yeah, I created the calendar. I was ready to roll it out, and then we had the issue with Apple updating the iPads and Firewave updating and crashed every iPad in the district. So I put that on hold, but the calendar is created. The two elementary schools, Max and I are going to set up times to visit them so they don't have to come to us. The junior high and high school, they can pick times to just come, because even once we hand them out, it takes us about 15 minutes to make sure mobility print works with them, and they can get on whatever they need to. So that should be, I'd say, the beginning of next week. There'll be a calendar out that I'll share, and people can pick them. If the elementary schools want to, if there is a teacher that wants to come and pick it up, we don't have an issue with that, but we're trying to do this as easy as possible for the teacher side. So we've got a good amount, close to 50 ready to go. And they're already, when we set them up, we assign a name to them so that that device is already set up for that teacher. And so on that calendar list, there'll also be a list of who can pick dates. It's not everybody yet.
Will we be able to buy our old devices?
That is the plan. For right now, if you're planning to buy your device, I'm going to have you hold on to it. And if you're not planning to buy your device, I'll have you turn it in. And then it's going to take an act of the school committee to approve that, because the policy states that we'll sell them at auction. But I think it's a good idea to put them in the hands of teachers who want them. And, we'll determine what a fair price is for that by getting quotes to buy the ones that people don't want. And then we'll move forward from there.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure everybody's going to appreciate, Joe, that you're coming around, and it will be in shifts, so that way people can talk to you when they have questions. Because as you know, everybody's going to have questions about the new devices. So I think that's smart, and I'm sure everybody's going to thank you for making it roll out that way.
Well, that would be nice, because right now I'm not very popular with the iPads. One of the things we want to make sure is, as we learned with the mobility print, when Google stopped the cloud print and we were forced to roll out mobility print, it became a nightmare because people were using their username off the MacBook, which is not what mobility print was looking for. So we set up the new Macs with the username to match the first name _ last name. So we want to just make sure everything works before we turn them loose. But yeah, I plan on working with the teachers. We don't want to just hand them a laptop and say good luck, because it's gonna come back to us later.
Right. Yeah. No, it's best if everybody has a little bit of FaceTime, so that they can figure out their pieces. Everybody's at a different level, as you know. So, and I appreciate it, because that means maybe I will have 20 some odd people lined up at my door.
All right. Anything else under student and teacher devices? Okay. Internet filtering. We do have some changes coming up with internet filtering. Our ISP's contract with iBoss is ending. We switched to Securely at the beginning of the pandemic for student devices that were Chromebooks and iPads. So all the one-to-one devices are using Securely. What we have still been using iBoss for is anything that's on the guest network or the teacher devices. And we're going to have to sunset iBoss and switch those over to Securely. which involves a little bit of, I don't know, massaging of the network, because the way it does filtering is different. The iBoss sits at the edge of our network between us and the internet and looks at all the traffic going out of our school. Securely does not. It's a cloud filtering solution. So we have to find a way to pass the requests for traffic to them to check, which means you either need to run the Securely extension on your computer, or you need to use Securely's DNS servers. So that's what I'm planning to set up for the guest network and the staff network. Is the DNS filtering. The only problem I'm having is it kind of negates our ability to use Cisco Umbrella for malware protection, because that's also DNS based. So I'm trying to work with Securely to get them to work together. I don't know whether that's going to work or not, but either way, by the end of November, we need to switch off of the iBoss. So I'll be working on that for the remainder of the month, I think. So you might notice some things get filtered differently than they did before, because Securely handles things a little differently. But if you have any questions, just let us know. If there's anything you need unblocked, just put in a ticket requesting it, and we'll take care of it.
Do you anticipate that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So do you anticipate that we'll have to like reauthorize videos that we've already authorized?
No, the YouTube video authorization shouldn't change at all. What will change is like you'll see a different block page when you go to a site that's questionable. And we have the policies set up so that it's most restrictive at the elementary school and relaxes more the higher in grade you get. So you probably won't see too many block pages at the high school. But if there's categories we need to look at because they're a distraction from learning, definitely let us know. What I'll do for the next meeting is I'll bring our current filtering setup, and the committee can look at it and see if there's any changes we want to make to it.
On that subject, Lisa, did you sent me a request to block a page yesterday? Do you know if that worked?
I haven't tested it out. Actually, I didn't know the ticket was resolved, so I never went back to it yet.
When something like that comes in, I do it the minute it comes in.
Oh, okay. I'll test it tomorrow and let you know. Thank
Okay.
you.
Joe is much better at keeping up on tickets than anybody we've ever had in that position before.
That's awesome.
So this kind of falls under one of the questions that Tracy actually had for Lynham. She has been trying to use some different speech apps with some of her students, like some technology for speech boards. And she's wondering if she has apps that she bought personally that she wants to be able to use on her device. Is there a way to send you that app to get permission to use it on her school iPad? She could load that onto the school iPad.
No. Not the way they're set up right now.
Okay.
I think Joe could probably set up a couple of iPads where she's allowed to sign in with her personal Apple ID and load the apps she wants on using it. But
Okay.
in most cases, the district would have to buy the apps with our app portal and distribute them
Okay.
that way.
That's kind of what I was thinking, because if you can't sign in with your personal ID,
right,
then she can't access it.
I mean, I don't like, I would much rather the district purchase the apps we need.
Okay.
But I know
Why don't I find out
I know
what
you
apps
probably didn't
they
budget
are
for
and
that
how-
this year. So what I
Right.
would recommend you do is have Robin budget for app purchases for next year so that those are
Okay.
ready. So that it's in the budget. And
Yep.
then, over the summer, we can buy the apps she needs, and she won't need to use her personal apps for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else under internet filtering? Okay. The next thing on the agenda is software and data privacy agreements. I have been signing a lot of data privacy agreements. It looks like we have like 63 signed TPAs. You know, people have been mentioning apps that I might have missed as they come across them. So, you know, if you are aware of any apps that we're using that aren't on this list, web-based platforms that students use is what we're looking at, that have any kind of student data on them. So even student names is enough where we should have a DPA with them, or come up with a way to cover ourselves in case they're breached. I don't want to be in a position where we have an app that we don't have an agreement with, and then something happens, and you know, we're on the hook for what they did. But there's a lot on here. Not a lot of Apple apps are on here though, so we should probably take a look at some of those and see if we can figure out how we're using those. I mean, if the app does, if you never put any personal information into the app, we really don't need an agreement. It's when you're putting any kind of information that could identify a student that we need to have an agreement in place. Any questions or comments about software and data privacy agreements? Okay, let's bring open forum back off of, what'd you do, Joe?
I haven't moved in a while, so the lights went off.
Let's untable open forum. Alicia, what did you have for stuff that you wanted to talk about?
Let me unmute myself. And now let me go to my little list. So it sounds like from the message that I have from Sarah Schofield, she already has her new device. Is that correct?
It's very possible. Anybody who's been having issues with their old device, we issued their new device to solve the issue.
All right. Well, it sounds like she's having some issues with her new device. She said that she finds it very difficult to print from it, and especially printing any photos from it. So I'm going to encourage her to put a ticket in for that, I guess, because that sounds like it's device specific or learning curve kind of thing.
Yep, that sounds like a good plan.
Yep, you answered the question for Ariel. She was wanting to know about being able to buy back her old computer, so that's TBA. I guess our biggest issue is the iPads, which we talked about, so we're going to get the new ones issued out to us. But one of the big stumbling blocks for us is still that process of printing. And I really, from what I understand from you, correct me if I'm wrong, but we cannot print. We don't have a driver on Toshiba printer, on the Toshiba copier, to be able to print from the iPad. Is that what our stumbling block is? Why we can't print from the iPad?
There are some alternate ways to print that we could investigate. You have the ability to print by email.
Through like that. Well, yep. And that's what we end up having to go through a variety of steps, whether it be through email or transferring them into the drive and then going into Google Drive and pulling them into a document and then printing from there.
Right.
So they're just looking to make that process more efficient, since it's one of our kind of key components of the way they produce those portfolios to track the students, you know, to document the students' activities to standards kind of thing.
Right.
So all of the teachers,
I mean-
Robin, everyone brought me that same question.
I mean, I understand. But, and you know, we'll have to, we can look and see if there's a way to make that more user-friendly, printing from an iPad. I don't know what the
Yeah.
options are, but at the end of the day, iPads aren't meant for printing. They're meant for creating. So I would almost question why we're printing out everything in 2021 and not making a digital portfolio, but that's just me.
Well, because not every family has that access.
But
Um,
if it was created into a portfolio digitally that we could then print out for the families who don't have it, it would be less printing.
This is true. So if we created that actual
Like if you,
portfolio,
I don't know, if you, are you demonstrating student work? Do you have pictures of students doing things? Like what's in the portfolio?
it's pictures of the students doing their work or doing activities when it's a physical thing, you know, developmental 2-foot jump, that kind of thing, balancing, as well as
Did we lose you? I think we might have lost Alicia.
oh no,
Oh, there you are.
there we go. Do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I pulled in my driveway. I think the house is trying to grab me.
It was everything after as well as that we didn't hear.
So as well as like the 3-dimensional kind of work and things like that that aren't easily hole punched and put into the portfolio, we might take a picture of something that would fall apart if you hole punched it and put it in there.
Gotcha. So there is stuff that the kids made and artwork and stuff too.
Right. Some of
I
it
can
is
understand
physical
why you'd
artwork.
want it physical then.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
So that's why it's a physical piece of work that we end up putting together
Okay.
in the end. But we could take, I mean, if we took pictures of all of it, then you could create a digital portfolio, but then we would still have those students that
Yeah, you cut out again.
where we have kids that aren't really using a device on their own. I think we tend to probably have more families that are not connected to us technology, maybe percentage wise,
True.
than the other schools, because it's not like the kids are using a device at home to connect with us. But if we can make that process more user friendly,
Joe,
for
it looks like there's a mobility print app for iOS. We should look into that.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm gonna do some research on that and see. I think we'd probably have to limit that. We don't want every student printing, so.
No, we might just limit it to Lynham.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, let me research that. I was gonna say tomorrow, but I'd rather not.
if we had
research
it on our 9 iPads, then that would be fantastic.
Yes. I'll come up with something.
Okay, and I think that's oh no, one more thing is our security cameras are still not all working. We haven't had a hallway security camera all year. So Maureen was hoping that could finish being addressed. We didn't know how to try to.
I'll give you an update on that. That camera, I have a brand new camera. I configured it. It's sitting on my desk. And honestly, every time I try to break away, because that's about an hour job to remount that camera, and
Yep.
something comes up, whether it's iPads blow up or
Right.
But it's actually, and I told Maureen this, it's actually sitting on my desk, ready to go. And I'm hoping over the Thanksgiving break, I can get that done. Because I don't like telling people I'll get something done and then I don't get it done. I've been promising Maureen, who's more than patient.
Yeah,
So-
we have a couple of kids that are mighty mobile this year, and so that's why it's kind of we're probably squeakier about it this year than we have been,
I
just because
believe
it
Maureen,
helps her be aware if they're headed in her direction and she needs to assist us.
she
Head them
told
off
me
at the
today,
path.
you have a few, as she put it, you have a few runners.
I was gonna use that word, but I was just trying to avoid it and say that they're mighty mobile.
All
So
right.
it just helps her be able to head them off at the pass there down at the exits
Okay,
for
yeah,
us if
it's
she has that
definitely,
camera.
it's on the list. I mean, we installed a new PC there because their other one was crashing weekly. And that's just the last piece of that puzzle, is to get that hallway camera mounted.
That would be fantastic. It would probably save us at least a few heart attacks a week right now.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
fair. Well,
Thank you. That's my list.
Cool. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up during open forum?
yeah, I do, but just briefly, because
Sure.
I don't know how, this would be the place to get the feedback. One of the things that Mary Slattery and I talked about today about the iPads is, I know a lot of people don't understand how these apps work, but each school has its own, let's call it a folder. And in that folder is the apps that school should get. Part of the problem, I get a lot of tickets like, this app just disappeared. And then when I traced the iPad, it started at, let's say, Metcalf and somehow ended up at Wallaloon. But I didn't know that, so that it never gets the correct apps. One of the things Mary and I talked about was just sending out basically 2 surveys. One is who's using what apps. I was on Apple yesterday. We have over 300 apps, and some of them are absolutely outdated. So Mary suggested I just send out a survey asking who's using what apps so that we can clean up FileWave. And then the other part that I think teachers might shy away from is I have to do an inventory of who has what iPads. The easy thing is every iPad has an asset tag on the back. And yesterday I did Metcalf manually. I went through the whole school and got every asset tag. It took me about an hour and a half. So Mary already did it for me. So the only really school left would be probably Wallaloon. So I just want your input. Do you think that would be like a headache if teachers told me what apps they really need on those iPads so we can clean this up? It would just be a survey of, I have all the apps on there and someone just has to check yes or no.
Yeah, if you, Joe, like if we have a list of what's available and what we have, we could tell you what we don't use, what we do use. I mean, I don't mind maybe you should have a point person for each building. Like I could sit with me and the team leader for kindergarten and we can go through, the Wallaloon list and let you know. And as you know, it's always changing. We find new things, but yeah, I mean, that's fine on our end.
Yeah, but one of the things, as everyone found out, is when the app portal crashed, iPads were getting every single app. And what happened was they pushed out every app, which was over 300. The majority of iPads ran out of space because they can't handle that many apps. I'd like to avoid anything like that in the future. And then, like I said, give each school the specific apps that they need, because there's no reason that the high school app portal should have something like Color Me 1, 2, 3. So,
There might be some days.
Yeah, well, that
Yeah,
might
don't
be,
be too
but
sure.
I know, but Mary was like, these kids will install anything. I was like, okay, I can't control what they install, but I can limit what they install.
Now, one of the
That's
things
all.
that I liked about Incident IQ when we first demoed it is that we can ask teachers to do an inventory of what's in their room.
Yes.
If you load up the Incident IQ app on your phone, you can even use it to scan barcodes by taking a picture of them. So I mean, it would take like 5 minutes for every teacher, and I'd like to have that set up at some point, but right now we're just not configured for it. Because right now, if you look at the location of every iPad in the district, they're all at the admin office. They're not assigned to individual classrooms. I think part of what Joe's trying to do is narrow down what building they're in, and then we'll figure out which classroom they're in.
Yeah, I worked on that today, Jeremy, in Incident IQ, because I have the spreadsheets of all the asset tags of iPads, but what I don't understand is how they end up at different schools. I don't know if it's like a brother sister, that kind of thing. Swapping iPads, and then the next thing you know, it's not working correctly. But it would be nice because the Chromebooks, I know who owns every single Chromebook. I would like to see that with the iPads too, because it's so much easier to troubleshoot at that point.
Joe, I think there was a lot of movement of all technology in general last year. The beginning of the year with the scramble with COVID and iPads, and especially I know at the middle school, we got new iPads, we rolled them out. The 7th graders got the 8th grader ones until we had new things, and it was just a little crazy. So I think that might be some of the movement that some of the districts, like the dust is settling. Not that it solves all of it. The other thing is just I know some of the apps that you wouldn't think high school students would be using might be being used by students in special services rooms. I know, Rebecca Breen's kids are using apps that the average middle school kid is probably not using. So there might be some caveats in each building with the special populations.
Yeah, I see that. One of the nice things about Firewave is I went through all the apps and it shows me if they're being used. And I pulled out over 50. I put them in a separate folder that have never been used. They're not on any iPad. So, it could be done. And Max today confirmed, Lisa, what you said, that when COVID hit, there was a mad scramble to get devices into anyone's hands. So there was really no record of who had what. And now the dust is settling. But, I feel bad for Karen when I get the emails that, hey, why are my apps disappearing? And I'm not doing it intentionally. They just, I mean, I'd love to blame Apple, and because for that one, it really was them. I mean, I watched the iPad in front of me get filled up with over 300 apps, and then they all disappeared. I'm like, what is going on? So it's not fun for any of us.
No, I appreciate you resolving it as quickly as you guys did, because I know it was a major crash and the junior high kids were like freaking out. That's all they were. Oh, my stuff in Notability is gone. Everything I've done is gone. I'm like, just be patient, guys. This was a lot more common 10 years ago. You'll be okay.
Yeah, Cora was hyperventilating here.
Right. And, just give a little time and they were okay. Maybe they learned a little resiliency and patience.
And also like the human factor of like she was panicked, but my Flipgrid is due and I have to have my Flipgrid in. And I said, you know what? Do you think somebody else knows that there's a problem? There's gonna be some leniency that your Flipgrid's not in. It's like they forget that there's that, oh, this is a big problem. Everyone's aware. Guess what? There's gonna be a human factor here. So, it was a good lesson for everybody.
We've become so dependent on technology work, and I guess the people in the IT department are like amazed when it works, because for the majority of the time, technology is a beast that we battle daily. But we want to make sure the end users don't get to see that part.
If you guys saw the bubble gum and baling wire we used to keep things together, you'd be scared.
A wig, by the way.
job.
I had pulled out all my hair the other day.
All right, anything else under open forum? Okay, we'll put that topic to bed, and then we're to my favorite part of the meeting, share something awesome. Anybody have anything they want to share?
At the middle school, I've been using I'll put my video on. I'm probably in a dark environment, but it's just better than talking in just a voice. Middle school, I have a new app I'm using, Maker's Empire, with the kids that allows for 3D design. And it's been really, the kids have had a really good time with it, and they're actually like playing on it outside of school. Like, oh, hey, I did this over the weekend. Take a look at it, which always blows my mind. Like, oh my God, you did schoolwork outside of school? That's so great. So it's been a really cool program, and getting them to do some 3D modeling and just tinkering around with that and getting their motivation high. So just been excited to see them carrying it outside of school.
That's cool.
So Tracy pushed out or gave us, I guess, the iPad that she had, a couple of new speech boards. We're used to using ProLoQ in the past, but a couple of new things that she gave us as tools, and to really see our students using them and using them with their peer models. And when we sit down for snack and having that out like at the table beside them, and seeing them really ask the question like, oh, do you have a crunchy snack? And, you know, and now they're being able to have this like an engaged conversation with their peers next to them, and see that augmented communication really work in real life has been kind of a nice asset. And that's why I think having those devices in each room will be a great tool for us. But that was really exciting for us to see it work the way we hope it does.
So at the high school, we've started this new nighttime thing where kids do personal learning time at the end of the day. And some teachers have been offering 2D and 3D design and using the 3D printer. There's been Raspberry Pi, digital photography, as well as a ton of other stuff, which has been really encouraging to see. They've been heavily subscribed. A lot of kids are really interested in those. And then just personally, as part of like figuring out which student goes where and everything, I've managed to teach myself how to use Google Sheets a little bit better and found some pretty cool stuff you can do with them.
It's kind of amazing what you can do with Google Sheets if you want to do a little bit of coding. I can't believe some of the stuff that Art comes up with.
So kind of off of Alicia's is we don't have ProLoco. We have the other one. I don't even know the name of it, but we use it. And I have two students in my room who are nonverbal or working on their verbal skills, and them being able to use that is great. But they're also, the peers are using it for helping communicate back and forth. And just being able to have that on an iPad that's not so cumbersome, that they all know how to use and access and have been taught how to use, is just something to celebrate. It's great to watch the students do it and not have to have an adult involved.
That's great. Art had one he wanted me to share. He was sorry he couldn't be here. He had a out of school commitment. He wanted me to tell you guys that he was blown away and humbled by some of his students' final video projects. They're a testament to how kids can shine when we step aside and let their imaginations run. And he wishes he could take credit for what he watched, but really it was all he could do to get out of their way. And he'll share some links with us in the future. So I thought that was cool. I really enjoy working with the other IT directors at RISD. I started heading up the K-12 administrators weekly meetups. So we get together on a Zoom call once a week and just talk about what kind of problems we're having and how we're dealing with it. And it's really helped hearing other people's perspectives. So that's my something awesome. Joe, you got anything?
I don't know.
Poor Joe. He doesn't have anything awesome right now.
We had another awesome thing actually that just happened today. And last year, all the challenges we faced, I think it gave us the ability to solve these problems now. And we've had a student who's been out for just over a week. And normally, that student would be out for just over a week or 2 weeks now. And, we wouldn't have a way to solve that. But because of having to learn that whole remote world, we've been able to have her in class the last 2 days with us and come to circle time. And then she stayed with us even today as the kids all made their choices of where they were going to go to centers, and she got to see the new centers in the room. She asked, can I stay on and see the new centers? And so we took her around the room with us as they saw their new centers, and she got to see who chose to go where. And I took pictures of 2 of the things that we were doing and sent them to her mom. So because she said, well, can I try those? Can I have them at home? So they were actual documents that we were able to use from a writing center and a craft area. But we wouldn't have done this 2 years ago. And so I think that was just a good takeaway from the last 2 years, to see a preschooler be able to use that technology and feel like they're present.
Baptism by fire we all went through has
Exactly.
allowed us to create, environments that would have taken us years of teacher training and sort of like hesitation and trepidation. And we all just
Right.
went into it. But now we have those scenarios and believe me, I do not want to do hybrid ever again. But if we have to, like, if there's situations that come up where we have a kid who's out for an extended medical or some situation, at least we now have resources that we can do. We can record things, we can Google Meet things, and we know
Right.
all of us how to use it. So I think that was one of the positives that came out of all the negatives of it.
Yeah. I mean, we never would have said, oh, put a preschooler on the computer to join us for class. That would have been like, are you crazy? And here she was, just doing her thing. That was really cool.
I love to hear stories like that. And I do definitely notice that technology skills across the district have gone up a lot. And everybody's put in a lot of effort to learn new things and stretch themselves. So I'm really proud of where we're at with the district, and I hope we keep going in that direction. Lisa, I don't know if it's something that you would use, but you mentioned some 3D design. We do have licenses, a site license for SketchUp Pro. So if that's something you want, just let us know. We can put it on your Macs.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it and see. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Unless anybody has anything else, we can close this meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody
you.
have a good day tomorrow.
Thanks,
Thanks.
everybody. Enjoy the day off.